Does microneedling hurt? Microneedling hurts depending on the size needle length that you're using, the type of device that you're using, and also how often you've been microneedling. So microneedling, if you're just starting off, you're going to feel, it feels kind of like Velcro with the Banisher 3.0. If you're using a derma roller, it is going to hurt more because you could be pushing a little bit too hard. And if you're using a motorized device, I would say the motorized devices hurts the most because you are circling it around the skin and also puncturing the skin really, really fast and creating micro tears into the skin. So I would say stamper devices hurt the least, rollers hurt the second most, and then motorized devices hurt the absolute most. But it also depends on the size needle length you use. Obviously, the longer the needle, the more it hurts. And also, if the needles are spaced far apart, it actually hurts even more. So I prefer a product like the stamper, the Banisher stamper. The needles are actually spaced closer together. So it actually hurts less. You can kind of think of it like a bed of nails versus just like needles by themselves. And then also, one thing people don't know is the more often you microneedle, the stronger that your skin gets, the thicker that it gets. So then every subsequent time that you microneedle, it actually hurts less and less over time. So for me, microneedling, it doesn't really feel like much because I've been doing it for so long. But the first time you do it, it might feel a little bit spicier. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. Number 2, how often should I microneedle? So I would say for a 0.5 needle head length, which is what you get in the Banish kit, I would recommend microneedling once every other week. You definitely don't want to do it too much, especially when you're starting off, because you need your skin to go through all the different stages of proliferation, rebuilding, collagen growth, all of that. So you definitely want to give your skin time to recover. So I would say once every other week. If you do it, if you do it really aggressively, you use like a 1.0 millimeter needle and you get a lot of redness and a lot of trauma, you maybe want to wait a month to do that. A 0.25, I would say you could get away with doing it once a week or once every other week. Is microneedling safe for acne prone skin? Yes. But make sure you're using a stamper device instead of a roller, instead of a motorized device, because with a stamper device, you can stamp around the active acne. Okay. With a motorized device, you're going to go, you're going to maybe motorize over active acne. And with a roller, it's really, really hard to control where you're rolling around and if you're rolling over active acne. 4, can microneedling help acne scars? Well, yes, this is why I started the business back in 2013. It is one of the most effective treatments for many types of scarring. You're rebuilding collagen from the inside out. So it is one of the most effective treatments for acne scars. And if you want to do it at home, it is a very, very economical way to reduce your acne scars at home. However, just make sure you're using a reputable device. Make sure you're not getting anything sketchy. This is not the time for you to try a new product that hasn't been tested, hasn't been out there for very long. Make sure you're using a safe microneedling device. Okay, so what should I use after microneedling? So yes, vitamin C serum. Vitamin C is so good for rebuilding collagen in the skin. L-ascorbic acid in vitamin C is actually a building block of collagen mRNA. It adds an OH factor. So OH factor in the L-ascorbic acid chemical structure, it adds it to proline and lysine. And that actually is part of the mRNA building block of collagen. So that's why in the Banish kit, we have an L-ascorbic acid serum included with the Banisher because it is the most studied form and it's actually a direct contributor to the growth of collagen. There's other forms of vitamin C out there. Yes, they might be less irritating, but there's not as much research as to if it actually directly affects the growth of collagen. If vitamin C is too irritating for you, because vitamin C, to be most effective, needs to be put on the skin at an acidic pH at about 3.5. So that might be irritating because of that acidity for it to be best absorbed into the skin. Hydrating serums are really good. So hyaluronic acid, yes, is good. And very, very gentle moisturizers too. So make sure they don't have any fragrance. I would say the fewer ingredients in post microneedling, the better. But ChatGPT says avoid retinols, which is true. Alpha hydroxys, benzoyl peroxide, fragrance, yeah, anything harsh, right? You've just pricked tiny little micro channels in your skin. You don't want to add anything harsh to it. 6, can I microneedle over active acne? No, because it spreads bacteria. That is true. Okay. How long do I see results? Honestly, you guys, with Banish, you will see results the next day. If you microneedle at home, you can see results the next day. I just think of my acne scars being smoothed out. I feel like instead of being so sharp, the edges of my acne scars are kind of like Facetune a little bit. My skin looks plumper. It looks more dewy. So I actually see results the next day. If you're doing professional microneedling, your face will probably be really red. It'll start peeling. So you're not going to be able to see the results until your skin is finally healed. And with professional microneedling, it induces a lot more trauma into the skin. So it's going to take a lot longer for you to see results. What's the downtime? If you're using the Banisher 0.5, I would say the downtime is probably 12 to 24 hours. If you just started microneedling, you might need a full 12 hours, right? If you do it regularly and use a 0.5, just a few hours. Okay. I would say though, do it at night. That way, when you wake up, you put on the vitamin C cream, a very gentle moisturizer, definitely sunscreen. And I would not recommend for you to go out in the sun or wear a very, very heavy face of makeup. Let your skin, heal. You can use like a light tinted moisturizer, some sunscreen, just a tiny bit of makeup, but you just want to let your skin like relax the next day. But yeah, for professional microneedling, you're going to have like very, very noticeable red face for about 3 to 4 days. And they also advise you not to shower or like wash your face there or sweat or any of that. Can microneedling damage my skin? Yes. I think this is the biggest myth people don't realize, is that microneedling can also damage your skin. And I've done other videos about people having very subpar results on Reddit. For me, it actually has damaged my skin when I got professional microneedling done, because the needles on the Dr. Pen device were too thick and the technician went way too hard on my skin and actually permanently scarred. So I have a bunch of like scarring here. You can see the little holes right here. I have a bunch of scarring here on my skin. Okay. So it can damage your skin if the technician is pressing too hard and you're not noticing because you're using numbing cream, if you're going over active acne, but also if they're using not a quality device, right? And this is why I always recommend gold-plated titanium needles are the best, because they are the sharpest and they don't drag onto the skin. Is microneedling safe for darker skin tones? Yes, microneedling is actually one of the safest skin treatments for all the different skin types, for all the Fitzpatrick types. So this is why I got into microneedling, was because I wanted to do lasers for my acne scars, but the family friend plastic surgeon who was going to do the lasers on me told me I was not a good candidate. So he actually recommended microneedling because I have like, darker skin. And you can see I scar towards everything. My little baby, she's 8 months old. She scratched me and look, it left a permanent scar. But yes, it's very, very important that you are wearing sunscreen, and I highly, highly, highly recommend after microneedling a mineral-based sunscreen versus a chemical sunscreen. Can I wear makeup after microneedling? You can. I do. It depends on the if you're using a 0.25 and you're putting on a moisturizer after, you can wear a little bit of makeup. But I would just recommend not putting makeup on until like 12 hours after, or like a good night of sleep. So what is the difference between at-home microneedling and office? Honestly, the difference is what you want to make of it. It really depends on, a lot of people will use a motorized device for professional microneedling, and people think that it is better because it vibrates. But if the person who is doing it is not careful, not carefully trained, then it can actually further damage your skin. So you can go on Reddit and you can read like, did microneedling ruin my skin? And sometimes it will ruin people's skin who get it professionally done. Doing it at home, you can do everything like professional microneedling estheticians do. You can also do it at home. To be completely honest, you can do it at home, but I highly recommend not to use a motorized device, because you can further create more trauma in the skin, because you're really pushing into it and you can create tears into the skin. If you're going to do it at home, definitely use a stamper device. Definitely use the thinnest needles possible, so that way it's foolproof. And what I love about the Banisher is you're just pushing it into the skin, and you're not like dragging, you're not creating more holes or more damage. Can microneedling help with hyperpigmentation? Yes, because it does speed up skin cell turnover and helps fade marks over time. Is microneedling better than laser? Ooh. Okay, so microneedling is good for all different types of skin and all different skin colors. Lasers, you really have to be careful what kind of laser treatment you get. And with lasers, they're very, very expensive machines that a lot of these offices lease. So the packages and the cost of laser treatments are a lot more because they are so expensive. But they might actually go deeper into the skin, and the type of laser might affect the collagen differently. So I would ask around and get multiple opinions. I'm not an expert in lasers, but I also do know that a lot of people get lasers and they don't see results as well, right? And that these laser machines are very expensive, and that most of the time they are leased by these aesthetic places, so they have to charge a lot for the packages. Last FAQ is, how do I sanitize my at-home device? I would use a 70% or higher isopropyl alcohol. I like 70%. I find that 99%, 90% it dries too quickly. So 70% isopropyl alcohol, you just fill it in the cap of the fill line and you're good to go. Make sure to always inspect these needles and make sure that they're not damaged or they're still sharp. And when in doubt, you definitely want to replace the needles in your device. So yeah, I just answered FAQ about microneedling. So ChatGPT, she did a good job. She was pretty much on the spot, on the money. There's just a few little nuances here and there, but yeah, microneedling at home is safe. Just make sure if you're going to do it at home, you do it safely. You don't go too harsh. And if you do get it professionally done, make sure you ask the right questions. Make sure you ask them what kind of device they're using, how heavy of a hand, the kind of numbing cream, all of that. Like, do your research. So I hope this helped, and thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.